Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, good night, wherever you are tuning in to another WP Studio training event. My name is Benjamin. I am the founder, trainer, chief code breaker, whatever you want to call me. Hey, you. And I want to welcome everybody to another live event here at WP Studio. Today, we are going to be spending a bit of time going through some more of the advanced details of creating custom post types with the Pods plugin. So just a few logistics to get out of the way. We do have a chat room over at wpstudio.com/chat. I encourage you, if you do have that extra screen or space, to go ahead and use that chat room. If you need to use the Zoom chat, that's perfectly fine to use that there. I will be following along. So if you ever have any questions, just pop that into the chat room that have something to do with the training. I always have to put that out there because somebody always is going to throw out some crazy question about what rhymes with orange or something. So you should be looking at the WP Studio logo, hearing my voice, and we are just going to dive right into the live training. So I have a brand new, fresh install WordPress site sitting out there on the internet. And if you've never installed Pods before, it's something very simple. You can just go to the Add New Plugins in your WordPress site and search for the word Pods. And you're going to get the first thing that comes up, and you can install it and activate it. Now, the great thing about this is everything to get started with Pods is all set to go the moment you hit activate. So let me just ask a quick question to those in the chat room. Is there anybody here who has never used Pods before, and you're coming here to get your first look at what is this thing people call Pods? Is there anybody like that? All right, so we got some people raising their hand. So that's kind of cool. So just to give you a brief overview, Pods allows us, without code, to extend and add anything in WordPress. Now, I say anything in WordPress because we need to take a step back down memory lane. If you've worked with WordPress for a long time, let's say 10 plus years, back then, we did not have anything like pages. We did not have, we didn't even have menus. We only had posts. And so back then, everything was a post. And moving forward, as WordPress has evolved over the years, any type of content management system that interacts with a database, stores all its stuff there, has to have a unique identifier for its content. And so therefore, WordPress refers to everything as a post. All your pieces of content, when you write a post, it's a post. Each individual post has an ID number. Each page has an ID number, but these are all variations on a post. So Pods allows us to extend any type of content container or create our own. So probably about 8-9 years ago, WordPress created this ability to access custom post types, for us to create our own custom post type. And so Pods actually for almost all that time has been one of the easiest ways to do this. Now you might be wondering, why would I need to extend WordPress or add another custom post type? For those of you who work with clients, have you ever had a client who says, we need to have press releases on our website, or we want to have special articles, or we want to share photos on our website, and we want to be able to upload that and share that type of stuff? Well, you could shoehorn those things into a post, you could shoehorn it into a page, or you could simply create a post type that would be very specific for a press release, for a recipe, for a house listing, any type of thing. So this is one of the things that we're going to spend some time talking about. In order to create a custom post type with Pods, we only need 2 clicks of the button and to type really one or two words. So if you've never seen this, come down to Pods Admin after you've installed it, and it will automatically take you to the Add New area. Once you have created custom post types, this will take you to a listing area as well. So we want to create a new custom post type. We're going to create something that is unique way of storing data. So on here, I'm just going to tell you, for what we're doing today, just choose this, custom post type. There are ways to create the custom taxonomy, settings pages. We've got other training that handle with all that. So for this, let's create a custom post type for press releases. So in order for us to do this, we have instructions that say a singular label and a plural label. The reason why you have 2 different ones is a simple semantics. The idea that when I want to add a new post, that's singular, but when I want to show all the posts in a list, that's plural. So we need a way for our custom post type to be able to understand that type of semantics. So we're going to do something as simple as press release and then press releases, making it plural. Now I told you there was 2 steps. The first step was literally create the add new. Type the 2 words, click next step, and our custom post type is now created. Take a look over here. We now have a press release waiting for us to access. If we go over there right now, we could see I'm going to add a new press release. Title, information. Well, that's a very basic setting. It's simply contains the title area and the content area, the editor for our custom post type. Sarah, great question. Is it better to have no spaces in your custom post type name? It doesn't actually matter. And actually, if we want to, we can go change this, which is the reason, kind of jumping ahead. I purposely made something that doesn't look good for the end user so that we can change it. So once you create a custom post type, we can always modify how the labels look here in just a moment. There are going to be many times that if you were to create a custom post type, and I'll just show this, if you were to create a custom post type that had a space, so let's call this one a super muffin and a super muffin. So see, I've got a space here. When I hit next step, because that's a great question, I do want you to see that, look what it does. It will automatically create the underscore because you do not want an actual space in the name of the custom post type when we start using it in PHP or referring to it in the loop or including it in the display of the feed of our content. So even if you type it, Pods is going to fix it for you. Does that help? All right, so let's go back to our press release. See, now when I click on the Pods, I can see that we've created 2 different custom post types. But let's go back to the press release because this webinar really is about more of the advanced functionalities. We already saw how easy it was to create the custom post type. It exists here. But this is just very basic. There's no real help here, or there's no real pizzazz. So we're going to spend a bit of time in the labels, admin UI, and the advanced options area. Sure, bear with me 1 second while I turn on my little cursor thing so that you actually can see what I am pointing at. So labels, admin UI, and advanced options. So let's start with the labels. I'm not going to deal with the fields right now because we're also going to spend a bit of time with the fields tomorrow. So here in the labels, we have the ability to change the admin screen area, the actual screen display of every single label in a custom post type. Now, if you were to actually go look at the code of how to generate a custom post type, there is a labels argument that allows us to overwrite everything from this. All posts add new. If I go to the actual post area, you're going to see add new post. if I were to come over here and search for things or add things or edit posts, we would actually see different types of posts. If I pulled up the all posts, take a look at this. There's a search posts. And all of these are labels. And so if we are here in our pods labels area, we have the capability of changing every one of those labels. On the left-hand side, you will see the default label that if nothing is chosen, this is what will be used. Now, we might want to change add new to something that would be more along the lines of issue press. Let's just issue press release, issue PR. Now, when I save this pod, anywhere where there was an add new, we're going to see, let's go to the press release. See this? It now says issue PR. So instead of add new, we are now issuing a press release. This label area is very helpful if you build sites for clients, because it allows you, as we've just seen, the ability to customize without having to write a single line of code, so that your experience with the custom post type and the experience for your client is very, very unique and very custom. And so that label area doesn't get a lot of love for a lot of people, but it's that extra step when you work with clients, so it doesn't seem so generic. Add new or something else. You can create your own type of information. Now, also, if you are in a foreign language or you're building a site for a foreign language for a client, this is an excellent way that sometimes working in the labels area will give you that flexibility to, you will have the translation, the localization of these labels, but not every time is the translation exactly how we want it. This will allow you to customize it. Any questions about the labels? The only thing you need to remember, I think, is on the left side is the default, the right side is what you customize it for. All right, so now let's go to the admin UI, because in this area there's some neat little tricks that for some reason seem to bypass a lot of people when they're setting up a custom post type. And I'm going to scroll down here to the menu icon, because I love this part about WordPress. WordPress, and I'll paste this into the chat room. WordPress has built-in icons called dash icons. These come and ship with WordPress. They're available in the admin area of WordPress without you doing anything. They're already in queued and everything. So I can look through all these icons, and these are the icons that make up the already created icons here. But notice how when Pods creates a custom post type, and if you create any other custom post type without an icon, you will get this little thumbtack, pin, whatever. And this can be difficult or this may not look as good if you do this for a client site and you have like 3 or 4 custom post types. So I would encourage you to come on over here, take a look at here and say, you know what, does anything look like a good press release? So I'm going to say, you know what, I like this icon. And so with this icon, I simply copy the name of the icon. So go ahead and copy it. Come back to your admin UI of the pod that you're looking at and simply paste it in. At which point we can save the pod, and now our press release has its own icon. You didn't have to code it in. You didn't have to include it in an argument. And the great part about this is if you ever need to change it, you can go ahead and change it at another time. The other item is a menu position. Now, the menu position is a numbering system that WordPress uses that starts at 0 and goes to infinite number. But what you'll notice is, like 0 to 10 occurs up in this area around the dashboard. Between 10 and about 40 appears for these top levels. 50 to, I believe it's 70 or 80 appears to this level. And then anything beyond the settings is normally going to be over 100. So that if I want to move the position of my press release to another area, I can simply type one of those numbers. And in fact, if I want to put it way down at the bottom, I could put something like 125 on a position area. And you're going to see that, hey, I've now moved my press release to below the settings panel. Or I can move it up to the top, and if I put it at 5, we are going to be all the way up here, just underneath the post area. Now, if you're wondering how you can tell, the menu order in WordPress is available on the codex. And let me pull this up. I'm going to... it's called the navigation menu area. Bear with me one second while I pull this. I thought I had this screen open already. One second. Okay. Here it is. If we were to come over here, and I'll just paste it in, whoops. I'm copying between several different screens here. There. If you visit the admin menu, right here, and you scroll down, you will find determining the location for the new menus. So keep going down, and you will see, where'd it go? Where's my number? This is a really long page, and I may have just scrolled past it. Sorry, I'm scrolling really fast here. Okay, it's somewhere on this one, determining the position. I would just encourage you to look for the actual number. Look for menu position in the codex, and if somebody else can grab that and paste that into the chat room, that would be great. So I don't want to hold up on that area. So we've got this positioning that we can move things around. The other thing is, sometimes we are working with our clients, and how many of you have ever had the experience with a client where they say WordPress is confusing, where there's 5 ways to access the same thing? It's a logical thing that happens. And for example, if I want to create a press release, what do? I go over to press release, issue PR. But if I'm logged in, I can do add new press release. So Pods gives us the ability to say, you know what? I don't want to use press release in this add new. And I can choose whether to turn something on or off. At the same time, I can also say, you know what, my menu name here, up here is press releases. What if I just want to do it PR Hub? So I can change the menu name that will appear in the admin menu. So now if I hit save, we're going to see that it's going to say PR Hub, where I can issue my press release. And again, we can control the position. You're going to see that now the add new does not include the press release. So behind the menu icon, as a way to really customize the look, sometimes simply having the ability to embed or tuck away a custom post type in this navigation menu area into a different location can also help our organization. And that's where this parent menu ID, and I want to show you how you figure out the parent menu ID. So for example, if I hover over this link and you were to look down at the bottom screen, I will actually visit that page just so that we can see what the URL. Take a look at the URL. It says everything after the WP admin. It says edit.php post _ type equals page. If I take everything after the WP admin area, copy this, and now say, you know what? I'm going to paste this into the parent menu item and save the pod, you're going to notice that our PR hub went away. It's now here. It's now in the press releases. All press releases. So there are ways that you can use the admin UI and really customize where you're going to store or position a custom post type in the admin area. Znick, if I left the number 5 in there, nothing really happens. Because when you're actually embedding it in something else, the menu position no longer matters. But each one of these would have a position. But the true menu position item is only for the top level menu items. Now, just so you see that why I copied and pasted this out, what if you create a whole set of custom post types using pods? You can actually see that I can put it inside our little super muffin custom post type, because I've now taught you that just after the WP admin portion of the URL, simply copy and paste, and our PR hub will now live inside the super muffins. All press releases. And it'll take us right there. So this is a very flexible part of pods that allows us to, with the admin UI settings, position the pod or position the custom post type exactly where we want it without having to touch code. Hopefully you're starting to see the benefit that it's, I'm going to keep repeating that setting it up is, we can do it all without code. Now let's go to the advanced options, because there's a ton of options here, but it might help if we walk through what some of these mean and why you would want to turn something on or off. And to get started, let's go all the way down to the bottom. So I want you to scroll, if you are doing this along with yourself, with me, scroll down to the bottom of the advanced section of the custom post type you just created. And there's 2 sections we're going to look at right now. The first is the supports. By default, WordPress provides a number of functionalities or fields that come with posts. So like the title, the editor, the author, the featured image, the excerpt, the trackbacks. In fact, if we turned on all of these ones right now and we go to the post editor screen, we go to the all thing, issue the press release, this is going to look just like the post editor screen. See, we've got our title information, there's our excerpt, the trackbacks, the custom fields, the discussion, the author, the featured image, the post attributes, the post formats. All of these things can be turned on or off. So when we're working with pods, we can choose, are there things that we want to use that are default WordPress? So therefore, in our advanced UI options, scroll all the way down and only select the items that you want to use or make visible. So we could leave revisions as something that we're going to use. We might also include the featured image. And so now all we have to do is title, editor, featured image, and revisions. At that point, you can save the pod. And this is another thing to remember with pods. As you are working with pods, don't switch between tabs or leave this page until you've hit Save Pods. So let's go to the advanced options again. Scroll down. So we've already seen the supports, built-in taxonomies. These are the categories, tags, and if you can create additional taxonomies with pods. Taxonomies are nothing more than a way to categorize. They're like folders that you can store pieces of information inside of. Hopefully you're familiar with categories and tags that you would use with regular posts. Now, let's come up here, and I'm going to briefly walk you through a number of the items here about why you should check them and why you should not check them. The public one simply means that it is going to be accessible to the dashboard. It's going to be accessible to the front end. Publicly queryable means we can now use this custom post type within a loop query. If you're unfamiliar with queries and how we can write and customize loops, all you need to know is if you want to display this content on the front end of your website, this should be checked. Exclude the search is by default unchecked for all custom post types created by pods. If you do check it, when somebody goes and visits the WordPress site, the front end, a visitor to the site, and they use the default WordPress search widget, if we exclude it, none of the pods will be included in the results. So this is not simply excluding from Google search engine. This is simply excluding it from the WordPress search that might be used in a widget or a sidebar or something else like that. The user capabilities is simply taking the capabilities that posts and pages or a custom capability has. It's essentially just a way to carbon copy what you can do with posts. For example, a regular user who's not logged into the site simply has the capabilities of reading a post. And so therefore, if we set user capabilities at post, we are going to copy that capability onto our custom post type here. This also means that if we use these, the author role, like if a user had the author role, they might be able to write the post, but they won't be able to publish the post because only the editor can publish. Only the administrator can publish. If you're unfamiliar with that, I encourage you to take a look at user roles. And Justin Tadlock has a great free plugin called Members, and that can get a lot more information about user profiles and user capabilities. Okay, enable the archive page. And if you're wondering, for those of you who just jumped in, yes, this is going to be recorded and available on YouTube after the event. So, enabling the archive page also takes into account what type of a custom post type are you making. Hopefully you know that on WordPress, a post has an archive, so we can actually have the list of all the posts. An archive of posts might also be, show me just the posts from April of this year, and it will give us a list of April. Now, pages don't really have an archive because pages are standalone-ish. One of the ways to think about this are pages are vertical. If you think of this illustration, pages are a skyrise apartment where each floor is a separate apartment, independent of one another, and only connected by, the fact that they're on the same property. Posts are horizontal, meaning we have a post which you can then click to next. They're on the same timeline, they're all connected, and at any point we can say, show me all the posts that are between these 2 points. So that's kind of what archiving is. If we decide that our press releases should be horizontal in terms of structure or vertical in terms of structure. And the archive page allows you to create a list of all the items versus individual places, individual display of the content. The hierarchy says this is going to be more like a page. Just as an example here, if I were to click on a page, we're going to come over here to this Add New Page. Hierarchy means I can select a parent so that this page that we'd be creating would be a sub page. It would have a parent. And so in this advanced options, many of these checkboxes all revolve around how you've already planned your site. Now, this is going to be a little side trail, but it's my encouragement to anybody who's developing sites, whether it's for yourself or for your client. I hope that before you're even at this point, before you're even in WordPress, you already know what you're going to build with your site. That could be going back to pen and paper to figure out how you're going to structure the site. Are your blog posts going to be in this area? Are your pages, the contact page, the about page, how are they? Are they just structured as standalone pages? Do you need to create additional custom post types? Maybe one that's a portfolio. Well, if there's a portfolio, are you using categories to segment the portfolio? So all of these things you should be already knowing before you get to this point so that you can look at the advanced options and say, oh, my press release, I need to make sure that it is queryable, that I'm not excluding it from the search, that I am enabling the archive page. Because I want to be able to have a quick list of all the archives that are all the press releases that would be on the site. And I can come down here to areas where, now notice how, sorry, I didn't mean to skip over this. Notice how there are these things called overrides, these slug overrides. Down here, if we rewrite feeds or rewrite pages or custom slug rewrites. What this means, let's go over here. Let's actually take a look at, we're going to create a quick press release because this will actually make a lot more sense. Let me save this before I leave. So let's go to our press release. We're going to issue a press release. This is the press release. Ah, the sky is falling. Okay, so that's what we're releasing to the general public. Publish. Take a look at this. You can see it here in the URL, the permalink. See this right here? That is the name of our custom post type. So that if we were to view, this is the press release, the sky is falling. In our URL, we have press release. The archive would be the name of the custom post type in your URL without the specific post name, without the specific post URL. See how we've just done that? Now this theme will automatically know that this is an archive page and it will start presenting things as an archive. But that's the difference. So if we were to come back over here to pods and you saw that archive rewrite, let's edit the pod. Go back to the press release pod, the advanced options, overwrite page slug. So this would be whenever we are on the archive, we could do like super duper stuffs. So that's going to we're going to rewrite this. Save. All right. So now let's go back over here. Let me see if I have my... Let me close some of these so I don't keep opening up other things. All right. So now let's go back to our press release just so that we can get to it. Let's view. Okay, here's our press release. But when we go to the archive, that archive doesn't exist here. Don't worry. We didn't break anything. It's because the permalinks are already saved in WordPress. So at any time when you know that, you know what, hey, I've rewritten that permalink, just go back to the settings in WordPress and permalink. This will happen no matter what type of tool you use. Simply save the changes. If you didn't know this, anytime you resave, don't change anything, resave the permalinks, it flushes all the permalink rules. So it just flushes them. So that now, when we go view our press release, and view, and I don't have my archive page. Hold on. Oops. Super duper. What did I name it? I forgot what. Stuffs. Thanks. So take a look at that. So now the permalink that has super duper stuffs is the archive for press releases. So that's actually what that does when we rewrite something. It's instead of using the default name of the custom post type that we created with pods, we can, again, customize it to the point where it's exactly how we want it for a client. And again, the same type thing of rewriting that slug, that would be the name of the URL, that would be the name of the file name or the post that we're using. Now, I'm going to show you this in just a moment because I want you to know that this is exportable. There's two things with this exportable checkbox. This exportable allows us to use two things. One of them, in WordPress, WordPress has its own export. Take a look at that. If you check the box exportable, I can export the content of the press release. This is simply going to export the actual post content. It's not going to export the structure of your custom post type. I'm about ready to introduce you to something that many people don't know about, but it still works. It's one of the early features that went into pods, and last I checked, it still worked. As of this morning. So let's go over to Pods Admin. Because if we spent our time, and there's a reason why we're going to go down this road, if we spend our time customizing the structure of our custom post type, putting in all the labels, customizing the advanced things, overwriting page slugs, maybe creating custom locations for admin UI, all this type of stuff takes time. And we don't want to lose that type of structure. Simply using the WordPress export simply just pulls the content out of the database into an XML file that can be imported. But it can't be imported into a new site that has a different type of structure. So therefore, Pods has this thing called components. Components are a way to turn on and off additional features and functionalities. And in fact, when you install Pods for the first time, you get one of these components already installed. It's the template system. The ability to create easy templates for your single posts or your archive posts or anything you're working with Pods to display the content on the front end. But I want you to scroll up here because there is something called Migrate. Migrate will allow us to take the structure of the site, of the custom post type, and move it to another website. So all you have to do is click the button for Enable or click the link, and you will have a Migrate Packages section that opens up. If you click on the Migrate Packages, you're going to see an option that's very similar to the Add or Extend option when you go to install Pods here. So if I'm going to export, I click the button and I choose which pods I want to export. If you have lots of them, it's nice and easy to toggle them on and off, or you can just simply select the ones that you want. When you've selected, okay, I want to grab all the stuff about the custom post types I've created, all the structure, all the custom work I've done with the labels and everything, and hit continue. It's going to give us a very basic output. You can go ahead and save this to some text file or save it to whatever you want or just simply copy it. And it has all the information that we have turned on or off or checked. In fact, if you dig even further, you're going to see that it supports a thumbnail for the featured image. You can keep going through here. You can see that our menu name is PR Hub, its location, all the settings are there. So when you then copy it, if you were to then go to another website that had pods installed, all you needed just is a blank version of pods, you can now import by simply pasting this code. Now ignore the green thing, that is simply just my Grammarly to fix grammar and typing. That's not going to show up for you. And that's how easy it is to move a customized structured custom post type using pods from one site to another. So at this point, these are some of the advanced features of working with custom post types. Notice how we did not touch any code. We didn't have to go to our functions.php and paste a whole functions for registering a post type. It's all done with pods. Tomorrow, when we start building different meta boxes to display our content, we are going to dive into a lot of these fields, because this is also the second most powerful part, besides how easy it is to create custom post types, is to add any type of field into our WordPress editor box. Because sometimes we need something beyond just the title or the editor, content editor. We need to be able to add infinite number of fields, and we need to be able to manage them and store that data. And so for this type of information, we're going to do that tomorrow. Let me ask, are there any questions dealing with the labels, admin UI, and advanced options? And then I'll give you 2 going away thoughts. Okay, the 2 going away thoughts. The latest version of pods, and it's been there for a few versions, but it's fairly new. If you were to simply go create a custom post type, either with some other custom post type creator or with a code generator, you may find that it is, you can create the custom post type, but when it comes to advanced things, Pods already has built-in REST API enabling and disabling features. And if you've never played around with the REST API, I'd encourage you to look at joining WPStudio. We do play around with JSON files and filtering through PHP arrays and learning about how to manipulate those type of functionalities. But the really cool thing about Pods and managing your custom post types with Pods is the ability for me to click yes, and now I can choose to show all fields in a REST API. So what this means is, if you're unfamiliar with the REST API, someone, myself or other people or a code, can simply fetch a URL that has press release as the base REST API, and that would be like the URL WP JSON version 2 / press release in the URL. It will fetch all the fields so that I can save it as or use it as a JSON file and then convert it to a PHP array, or display the content on my own site or move it to someplace else. But using this REST API, simply by enabling it, opens the door for me not to have to code and include and filter the REST API for each custom post type I create. But the other thing is, well, I can also not check this, and I don't have to worry about this custom post type that I am using to be included in the default WordPress REST API feed that all WordPress sites now offer. Dirk, your question, is it possible to store articles in categories like normal posts? Then, of course, store in a custom post type section and not mixed with WP categories? Let me answer your question two ways. One, yes. If this press release, I use categories, it's going to add a new meta box to our press release area. You're going to see here. And this new meta box is the actual categories that are used by posts. So the uncategorized. It's actually using that. Now, when it comes to displaying it on the front end, this is where we get into customizing your query. Because a query with WordPress is we can actually say, show me all the content, all the posts that are part of category ID, or the category ID 1 or 2 or uncategorized or whatever category you have. And then I can also say, but only return the press release custom post types that are there. So again, it's going to, the display on the front end is going to require a much more custom loop query. You can also create multiple categories that would be unique to each custom post type. So there's, again, if you've never been on a training with me before, one of the things I say is I love WordPress because there's a million ways to do the same thing. So what works for my workflow may not work for your workflow or your client's workflow. But the cool thing is there are really hundreds of ways to do the same thing. So while I can show you, okay, we can put regular categories into press releases, I need to know, am I going to filter them from the query, or do I need to build my own set of categories? Do I want to manage only one set of categories like this, and then do a filter based on the type of custom post type? I hope that wasn't too confusing. It might come a little bit together tomorrow when we start dealing with additional fields, adding them to custom post types and creating the meta boxes, because at the end of tomorrow's webinar, we'll use a template to pull all this stuff together so that we can display additional fields, information on the front end of the website. All right, well, if you enjoy this type of training, interactive, going through everything, actually possibly making an error like we did with our permalink, and learning how to fix that type of stuff. We do a lot of that here at WPStudio. Anybody who's on the call, I did want to offer you a 20% off coupon, PODS20 now. And that's going to be about the extent of the promotion. You can learn more about WPStudio, but I also hope that you will come back tomorrow. And if you're not registered for the free event tomorrow, we're going to be creating meta boxes with pods tomorrow. And that, again, is free and available to everybody. And as I say to everybody who attends my events, if you ever have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me, benjamin@wpstudio.com. I may not be able to answer it directly. I may be able to point you in a direction. If you don't want to just email me directly, you can always visit the website. And if you actually come here to, the membership page, scroll down on the membership page, you will actually see at the very bottom a way that you can get in touch with me directly if you don't want to remember my email address. So thanks so much for joining me today for this introduction to creating the custom post types with pods. Hopefully it's been helpful for you. We're going to upload this to YouTube so you can always watch the replay. And I encourage you to come back tomorrow for our meta boxes with pods. So take care, everybody. Have a great rest of a Monday. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.